Hello, my name is Nekita Esperon. I am an Android VTuber that specializes in playing FPS games and RPGs, but this time we're playing one of my favorite games from my childhood. This is Pikmin 2, released in 2004 on the Nintendo GameCube, in 2009 on the Wii, and in 2023 on the Nintendo Switch as part of the Pikmin 1+2 HD remasters they released recently, and we'll discuss more about those in a bit. For the sake of this playthrough, I am playing on the US GameCube version, and that means that all of the differences between the Switch and GameCube version will be very apparent in terms of the differences between treasure textures and, well, just about everything you can imagine. Well, at least you dodged the meteor this time, Olimar. Won't have to worry about ship parts this time. Well, it may not fly the best, but at least it landed. That was close. I have averted a crash landing. Running diagnostics. Alert. Danger. Louis is missing. He must have somehow fallen out of his cockpit. He is not responding via his communicator. He is either flouting protocol or in danger. Olimar, you must find Louis before he freezes to death in the cold of this planet. Wait a moment. Look. And I'm looking at Pikmin. Could these be Pikmin? They look like they are about to be devoured as we speak. You must help them, quickly. Press B to call them with your whistle, Captain Olimar. You can also hold B to make the sound of your whistle carry farther. Remember? Yeah, we'll do just that. See? Everybody's just fine. It's normal. The Pikmin ran to your side. They seem to remember you, Captain Olimar. How fascinating. Give them instructions, and do not delay. Hold A to grab a Pikmin, and release to throw it. So this little cursor that we're currently trying to aim with is where our Pikmin will land, and they fly in a parabolic fashion. Attention, Captain Olimar. I have just re-established my communications link with Louis. It is fortunate we have managed to confirm his safety. Press Y to communicate with him. I am quite interested in the details of his condition. Well, while this is going on, we're just going to put these guys on top of this. And then we'll swap over. Hi, Louis. Wake up. Louis, allow me to assess your condition as per our safety protocols. Are you at all injured? Is that so? Then my concerns are eased. Our communication link shows you are nearby. Can you make your way to our location and rejoin us? I will navigate for you. Press start/pause to contact me and obtain information about the terrain. And if we open up pause, then we have access to a mini-map. Or, well, just a map. So, we're not that far away from where the ship landed. But there is an interesting little thing here that we can look at. Louis, the odd object before you appears to be one of the onions mentioned in Olimar's report. And the eyes as usual. The seed the onion ejected just sprouted. According to Olimar's report, it can be plucked with A. Well, hi there, Pikmin friend. So, these are red Pikmin. They are distinguishable by their color, obviously, but they also have long noses. Louis, this must be one of the Pikmin creatures from Olimar's report. It is staring at you. You can use the C-stick to issue objectives to your Pikmin squad and even direct their movement. You can disband your squad with X. Interesting. Olimar's description of the creatures resembling Pick carrots was strikingly accurate. Louis, my sensors have detected drool in the corner of your mouth. Are you alright? I don't think that's gonna help things. Well, don't look at me. Well, I guess it's my problem. Okay. So, all Pikmin fly in a parabolic fashion. And that means that because we have to move and aim with one stick, it can be a little complicated at first, but not that hard to master eventually. In 2009, Pikmin 2 received a Wii version that's based more on the European release. And the only real difference is obviously the changes between treasures.
The onion ejected more seeds. The pellet from that flower must hold nutrients that breed Pikmin. Yes, the Pikmin gather nutrients, haul them to the onion, and further propagate the species. The onion is a Pikmin mothership. Reviewing Olimar's report, it seems repeatedly tapping A lets one rapidly pluck Pikmin sprouts.
And I don't really like the motion controls for Pikmin. I know that there's a lot of other advancements that the Wii versions do that just improve the experience outright, but I found just using motion controls to aim accurately is extremely cumbersome in any instance. And especially in a game like this, where accuracy is very important. The layout of the Wii remote also makes things difficult. I don't know, there's just a handful of reasons why I prefer the GameCube version over the Wii version. And while I am interested in buying the Switch versions, it's more or less just because I like collecting video games, and not necessarily because I think that they are superior or inferior in any way. I'm just glad that this game, in particular, is more accessible to people. Oh, a Duracell battery.
Perhaps this object is one of the treasures that we are searching for. The only reason we found it here is because this is where you crash-landed. How fortunate. I would like to appraise it, but you must regroup with Olimar first. Can you see him? Press L to move the camera behind you, R to zoom, and Z to change angles.
Yeah, about that. L does center your camera as expected, and R gives you 3 different levels of zoom. And Z changes it to a bird's eye view, and bird's eye gives you the most range of view, if you're really looking to, like, expand how far you're looking. But one that they don't tell you until a later letter in the mail is if you hold R, it gives you a super low chase view, which lets you get a real sense of scale as to this whole just game. There is a lot in terms of just how this game is designed and how pretty it just looks in general.
Captain Olimar, Louis, you are reunited at last. This has been a troublesome start to our trip. But now you must feel assured that your combined wit can get you through anything, correct? From now on, use B to form a single group, X to take solo action, and Y to change leaders.
It's kind of a half-truth about grouping together with B, because in reality, B is just your whistle. So if we just whistle one of the leaders, they will follow us, and if we don't have any Pikmin with us, then we will default to hitting. If you are grouped up with the other leader, they will start attacking as well in instances where you can deal damage. Otherwise, it's not really useful to have both leaders around together. And that's just because Pikmin is a franchise about efficiency. Efficiency that they continually design the games around. Pikmin 1, you only have one leader, but you also have you also have 3 species of Pikmin, and all of the puzzles usually require going back to certain areas once you've gotten different types of Pikmin, and this game is no exception to that rule. The real difference, however, comes from the fact that this game, unlike all the other Pikmin games, does not have a time limit. You have a goal, obviously, pay off the debt. But there's a lot more to Pikmin 2 than just following a goal like that. There's a lot more to this game. In order for you to pay off your debts, you only need to complete maybe half of the game. And that's a vast overestimation just off the top of my head. Realistically, if you knew what places to go to, you could technically beat the game in a few days, at most. Okay, they're being a bit moody right now. Come on. There you go. So, the number on top indicates how many Pikmin are currently carrying an object. The number on the bottom indicates how many Pikmin are needed to lift the object off the ground and carry it back to the onion or the ship. 20 is not the max. Well, that number at the bottom is not the max of how many Pikmin can carry something. If you have enough Pikmin to exceed the number, they usually let you go up about 50% of the base item. There's a lot of exceptions to that rule that we'll get to later. But for the most part, it is not a problem to just give what is exactly needed for an item so that you can consolidate the Pikmin elsewhere. Because, well, we'll get into the whole rhyme and reason once we actually play the game, but it's going to be a bit of time. We're not going to really get into the nitty-gritty about how the game works until day 3. Day 1 is just, have you ever played a Pikmin game? If no, here's how. Low risk, no problems, don't have to worry about anything. Our first treasure, the Courage Reactor. It is a Duracell D battery. It expired 13 years ago in March 2010. And so did the license, probably, because these Duracell batteries do not exist in the official Switch version. They have been unified as a sort of global texture. And we'll get into the treasure differences between all versions of Pikmin 2 later.
Our first story of exploration has yielded our first treasure. We will be done in record time. I took the liberty of naming it when I appraised it. The name reflects my current thinking. Leave it to me to think up catchy names for hit products. It is but one of my many talents. We shall end our first day here and report back to our president. His face will surely be joyous. However, to communicate with Hocotate, we must fly into low orbit above the planet. We will not return to the surface until morning, so as to avoid the indigenous nocturnal creatures.
And just like that, the end of the day is here. We leave and go on our way. And if you think that this is where the episode's going to end, well, you're unfortunately wrong. Well, fortunately wrong is a better way to put it. Because if we're being completely honest, the tutorial it's fair enough. It teaches you a decent amount. But where we're really going to know the nitty-gritty and understand completely about how this game's progression is going to be, that's where day 2 comes in. In the Sunset Report, you will find out how many treasures you collected, how much all those treasures were worth in that day, and how much money you've made overall to beat the debt of 10,000 Pokos. You will also get a notice of how many Pikmin were born or died. You can read the stats as to how they died, and there's a lot of ways to do so. And afterwards you get a letter in the mail. You found your first bit of treasure. Fine work. Our future depends on your efforts, so check your treasure hoard regularly. I'll check in often. Keep up the pace. And just like that, our first day is over, but this episode is not over. We barely even scratched the surface on this game, and you need to see more of what this game has to offer. We will talk about the Piklopedia and treasures as well in the next episode. Let's return to the Valley of Repose. Now that we have more Pikmin at our side and that we are together, there's a lot to do.
Good morning, workers. Ready for another day of toiling for the profit of your company. The Pikmin seem to still be asleep inside their onion. What lazy creatures. Now, no wonder they lack survival skills. Stand beneath the onion and press A to call them out.
And so our day begins. We're gonna start by getting these onions, or getting these pellet posies knocked down. And there should be more pellet posies over here. Pellet posies are one of the most common overworld items or objects you can find in the game. Each of these pellets have a number on them, and that's how many Pikmin are needed to carry it. You can use it to carry more, obviously. Like, say, you can have 2 Pikmin carrying 1, you can have 10 Pikmin carrying a 5, 20 Pikmin carrying a 10, and 50 Pikmin carrying a 20. So there's a lot to manage. You may also notice that a little thing has shown up at the top of the screen, indicating with some sort of sun meter. That is the time of day. The left is when the day starts. The leftmost dot is where the day starts, and the rightmost dot is where the day ends, about 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. roughly. Each in-game day lasts approximately 13 real-time minutes, with give or take a couple seconds. And this means that we have to spend as little time as possible doing management. So stuff like growing Pikmin, defeating enemies to take back to the onion, and whatnot are considered the sort of work aspects of it. And then actually collecting treasure is the main goal. So you raise your Pikmin, you raise a group, and then you use whatever tools are necessary in order to get as many treasures as possible every day. And while the first couple of days in the Valley of Repose aren't that interesting, so we're gonna drop 1 for that. Not 4. There we go. Do that. So that's a dwarf red bulb orb that we just took out. And this is a normal red bulb orb. If we attack it from the front, it is a suicide mission. So what we're gonna do is going to attack from the back and just mash through. As long as we're aiming for the red spots, it should be fine. It did grab and attempt to eat Pikmin. If it grabs a Pikmin, then there's a chance that they will survive. It is surprisingly easy to lose Pikmin, and if I lost a Pikmin in the first couple days, then that's on me. But it's not going to get any easier from here on out. As a matter of fact, I suspect that we're going to lose a lot of Pikmin throughout this journey, and it's mostly going to be my fault. Okay, they're going to take down a pellet posy, and I'm just going to pluck one of these Pikmin here to grab this. We have an ultimate goal that we are trying to reach right now, and that is... there's currently a treasure in that main circular area that we were just in that had the red bulb orb in it. I'm going to use the rest of my Pikmin to carry this object faster. So as you can see, we now have 20 Pikmin carrying it. I might have had the numbers backwards, but it should be fine. Yeah. The required weight is at the top, and the amount of Pikmin carrying it is at the bottom. That's on me. They switched that around a lot, actually. I think in Pikmin 3 it's backwards. Or I think in Pikmin 3 the positions are swapped. But it's hard to tell. Anyways, we are currently raising our army of Pikmin, and we're going to need a lot of these Pikmin later. I'm also going to zoom out the camera and see if there are any... If there's anything at the top of this ramp. I don't think there is. No, there isn't. There's currently a group of Pikmin trying to carry a scrap can all the way here, and I need to go make sure that there are enough carrying it, and then take a Pikmin with me to go get more pellet posies that have landed where the red onion was yesterday. There are enough Pikmin here to probably do most of that work without too much stress. Okay, I'm gonna just cut this. There we go. And instead of leaving this to be undone, I'm just gonna take a few Pikmin with me. I'm gonna take about 10. There we go. So, I used the C-Stick to swarm them into that Bramble Gate, and they're gonna take their time to destroy it. The white Bramble Gates are the weakest of all the gates in the game. There are a handful of them that you have to worry about. There's a white one, there's a black one, and then there's another one we'll get into later. For the sake of this, however, is not too problematic to just leave them to do that while I go and finish up these pellet posies that are over here. And we can see that the scrap can is already almost back to the ship, so there's nothing really much to worry about. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to leave Olimar here with the onion to wait on these Pikmin. I'm also going to leave these Pikmin idle in the middle of this road because that is where the path is. That the Pikmin carrying the pellet posies, well, just anything returning to base will do. That is the only path here that they'll have to go to, and these Pikmin will unidle and help carry these pellets back while we're away. In the meantime, this utter scrap, which is surprisingly worth a lot of money, will be deposited. These pellets will be given to the onion for growing more Pikmin, and the Pikmin that I have with me will help destroy this fence. This should easily be done by the time all the Pikmin get back. Yeah, because they're already almost here. If you heard that chime, that's going to be important later.
How could Pikmin destroy such a massive wall? When masked, their might is ferocious. Louis, did Olimar instruct you on proper Pikmin commanding protocol? Apparently not. Olimar, you are failing in your duty as a superior. Allow me to explain. Press A to grab Pikmin, and release to throw them. Call them into a group with B. Press X to disband the group. Use the C-Stick to issue orders and objectives to the group. C-Stick is useful for swarming Pikmin around treasure and enemies, or making them march in a line.
We will be using the swarm mechanic quite a lot, and it's easily one of my... it's easily one of the better mechanics in Pikmin to just mess around with. I'm just gonna throw them that way in order to help bring this forward. Because they're all leaf Pikmin, they all move incredibly slow, so we will easily outrun them. So we have to be a little patient with these Pikmin. But that will change in time. So, by the end of day 2, you should have 70 red Pikmin when you go to the first cave in the game. That's currently where we're heading right now. Just past that white bramble gate was a cave, and caves are interesting because they work differently than anything else in the overworld that you will ever experience. So we will get to that in a second. We are going to need both captains for this. It is wise to take both captains into a cave in a lot of instances, and I'm pretty sure they require you to.
Interesting. Warm air is welling up from the hole in the ground before you. What could lie underground? What is wrong? You both show expressions of unease. Do not fear. The leader's group of Pikmin will join you. I shall dispatch my research pod, too. Approach the hole and press A to jump in.
This is the Emergence Cave. The first cave in the game. Caves are very interesting by comparison to the overworld. In the overworld, everything happens exactly as you expect it to. There are a lot of paths that you have to take, but you have to progress through the areas slowly in order to unlock shortcuts that'll get you to various parts of it sooner. The same is the case with the Valley of Repose. Doing all this required a lot of effort in order to build our army so high, but again, Day 1 and 2 are substantially different from the rest of the game.
Intriguing. My heat sensors indicate that this hole's interior is warmer than on the surface. Analysis suggests subterranean areas may support different life forms than the surface. If you wish to check underground terrain, press start or pause to communicate with me. I am not just a ship, I am an all-purpose support pod.
So, caves. The day has been replaced with a sub-level count, and we'll get into sub-levels later. We're gonna just take these treasures back slowly, and we're gonna try not to lose any Pikmin to these dwarf snow bulbs. There's our first treasure. A 7-Up bottle cap. The quenching emblem. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call back some of these Pikmin that are currently carrying. That should be fine. And then we'll take the rest to carry this orange back. So yeah, there is a sort of a max carrying weight. And here is a hole that leads even deeper into the dungeon.
This hole appears to be quite deep. My sensors indicate more treacherous terrain ahead. Louis, you do recall that you can adjust the camera with L, R, and Z, correct? Your expression suggests you do. Excellent. Then approach the hole and press A to enter it.
We're gonna wait a little bit. Oh, and they brought back one of the creatures.
How can you possibly consider this beast a treasure? Beasts are incompatible with my circuitry. I suppose I will store your finds in my hold. But I do not think beasts will be worth much.
Oh, you say that, support pod, but in reality, it is probably one of the most profitable ways to get money in this game. As a matter of fact, one of the penultimate speedruns that have... not speedruns, one of the penultimate challenge runs of this game is called a low day run, and it's kind of a pivotal... or not pivotal. It's kind of an important part of Pikmin playthroughs. Also, you hear that sound? That means that there is no more treasure in this area to collect. In a similar fashion to the little chime that we heard when the gate was destroyed earlier, the you will hear that sound anytime something like that is completed, so you will hear that even if you're not controlling a captain that's near them. It is mostly a chime to indicate, yeah, one of your Pikmin groups is done, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. However, welcome to sub-level 2 of the Emergence Cave. Since this is the final floor, it is time for me to explain one of the nuances of this game. Oh, and try not to lose a Pikmin in the process.
It's inconceivable that such an immense object has been buried here for so long. The design on the outer shell resembles the surface of the planet as seen from space. Perhaps this could be used for something other than salvage. But how will we ever lift it? I fear that even 100 red Pikmin will be unable to lift it.
Well, we still have some more dwarf snow bulbs to deal with. I'm just gonna leave 4 here. We don't have to be too accurate right now. We're not too dependent on that. You know, I'm just gonna launch these. Okay. Yeah, we'll just leave those 3 there. Oh, fun.
Astounding! A flower blooms in a cave deep beneath the snowy landscape. Clearly it is warmer down here than above. Look, the Pikmin are restless. They look as if they yearn to be tossed into the flower.
Well, let's not keep them waiting. This is a violet candy pop bud. There's a candy pop bud for all sorts of things. But for our purposes, we're gonna throw 5 in there because these candy pop buds can only take 5 Pikmin before they expire. And what we get as a result is a brand new Pikmin type to Pikmin 2. The purple Pikmin.
Amazing! A purple Pikmin. It has hair and is quite stocky. It seems very heavy and strong. This kind of Pikmin was not mentioned in your report, Olimar. It must be an entirely new type. Transforming Pikmin by tossing them into flowers? Intriguing. Perhaps there are others.
So, yes, in Pikmin 2 there are brand new Pikmin types. However, there's a catch. These Pikmin, purple Pikmin and another species we'll get into later, well actually 2 more species we'll get into later, they can only be obtained in caves. In that, no violet candy pop buds spawn above ground, or at least none that I remember off the top of my head. So the only way for you to gain purple Pikmin is to go into a dungeon like the Emergence Cave, throw 10 red Pikmin in, or any Pikmin of your choosing really, but it's recommended to use red because they're the easiest to replenish. And the end result is that you get an interesting form of progression, where going into caves is not just good for getting a bunch of really good treasures, but it's also really good to get some of the best Pikmin in the game. Because, as you've no doubt noticed, we don't have 154 Pikmin. That's because purple Pikmin can carry the weight, or can carry as much as 10 Pikmin at any time. So, if there's an object, like, say, that red Bulborb we grabbed earlier, that was worth 10, you only need 1 purple Pikmin to lift it. The caveat, though, is that purple Pikmin are slower at carrying things, and it is not really worthwhile to use them in any purpose other than to sort of get them moving before giving them away to another Pikmin that can move much faster.
A spherical atlas. There's a device resembling a microchip embedded inside this sphere, retrieving data. Error. I can only decode a portion of the data, but I did retrieve new geographic charts. I will input this data into my planetary database and name it the Sphere Chart. Press Start or Pause to contact me and access the Explorer Kit on the radar screen with L. Now that we have this new data, you should explore the decoded territory tomorrow.
So if we see any of these half-globes, we need them in order to explore more of the region. As mentioned, we have what's known as the Sphere Chart, and if we just look at the items that we have, there's only 2 Sphere Charts that we have to worry about, but a lot of other items that will be very, very important later. And if at any point you want to stop, the game autosaves every single subfloor, but if you don't have the Pikmin necessary to complete a cave, it is usually worthwhile, in some instances, to just give up and escape. And what that'll do is it'll return you to the overworld, back at your ship, with all the Pikmin that you had when you give up. However, all of the treasures that you've taken will be dropped and reset. And caves, like I mentioned before, are very different as opposed to the rest of the game, in that they're randomly generated. Obviously, the Emergence Cave is not going to be randomly generated because it's like 2 rooms.
Astounding! Water is shooting out of this geyser with incredible force. Sensors indicate it has enough power to launch you into the air. Approach it and press A to try.
the Emergence Cave doesn't quite have that random generation effect to it because it can realistically only generate 2 levels. The floor that we're currently on is one such thing known as a cave unit, and I will explain more about cave units in a later video because I do really want to get into how this game randomly generates stuff because it's actually kind of cool. Especially for a game from 2004. The best way to describe Pikmin 2 at this point, if you are really interested in knowing my personal opinion on it, is to treat it like a roguelite. When you're in the overworld, you have complete control over the environment. There is not a whole lot you can't do in terms of knowing how to build a route around certain parts of the level because it's always fixed. There are always objects that will always be there and enemies that will respawn in their usual spots. However, in caves, since they're all randomized, that means that item placement is randomized, enemy placement is randomized, and a lot of other really just interesting things that I will discuss when we get there. But for the time being, our first cave experience went by swimmingly. We didn't lose any Pikmin, and we gained a new species in the process. Purple Pikmin will be incredibly useful for us in the next area as well.
You have successfully returned to the planet's surface. Excellent decision-making, gentlemen. We must celebrate your first successful spelunking expedition. You've gathered a large amount of data that needs in-depth analysis. I shall send a report back to the President tonight detailing your progress. Olimar and Louis, since you will explore a new area tomorrow, today's work is done. What? You still want to work? Unacceptable. You may not realize it, but you are exhausted. You should take a much-needed rest, as you have all the time you need to collect the treasure. Haste makes waste, so take it slow and steady.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all, actually, Ship, because this series is different. In that, because I'm recording it in its original video format, 4:3 standard definition, I thought it would be a fun idea to try to format this in a way where you could record it on a VHS tape and have it on standby and watch it on your own CRT TVs if you have them. Because a lot of my fondest memories of video games comes from playing them on a CRT. And I also tend to dream in CRTs. And I don't mean like a lot of my dreams have CRT TVs. I more mean I view my dreams as if I'm sitting in front of a CRT TV. And it's an interesting phenomenon to have, but I think it's cool. And I want to also preserve a small bit of what I know some people are enthusiastic about and give them something that they can watch on the side. And Pikmin 2 felt like a very natural game to play, especially with it just releasing and Pikmin 4 just coming out. So hopefully you've enjoyed this first episode and you'll continue to watch the rest. But also, in the description below are specially rendered 480p versions of these playthroughs that you can download at will and put them on VHSs so that you can so you can record them on VHS or just play them on your CRT TVs if you have ways to do that, without any worry or stress about the format not fitting. So, if any of you out there are doing that, then congratulations. That's awesome, but also tell me how it went, because I am genuinely looking for feedback. That said, we've gone on more than long enough. About 45 minutes is a pretty good way to establish what to expect, and in the next episode, our adventure truly begins as we enter the Awakening Wood. Until next video, I've been Nekita Esperon, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day, everyone.